before we start the show, did you watch that video I sent you?
Not that last one, no.
Can you watch it real quick?
Sure, Jake. I ain't got nothing else going on right now.
Yeah. Well, I want to get your honest reaction on camera.
I don't want to watch this.
No, you need to watch it. It's like a minute long.
I don't want to watch it.
Watch it.
I've been overwhelmed with watching videos that are in that vein. I'm so done with it. I don't want to watch that.
Please. What is up, boyos? Welcome to the Jake and Cory podcast. Woo, woo, woo. I am Jake. That is Cory. What's up, Cory?
What is up, Jacos?
So how'd you feel about that video?
You made me watch that video through the magic of radio.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for just forcing that upon me with everything else that I've been forced to watch. That video, if it would have shown up on my Facebook timeline, that person would have got snoozed for 30 days. I don't think there is anything else. I'm not snoozing you because you didn't send it to you didn't post it on your profile.
Yeah.
Everybody else, I'm putting out this affidavit right now. Everyone that is putting out their view of all this crap with their opinion attached to it on Facebook and it's showing up on my timeline, your ass is getting snoozed for 30 days. And I'm going to tell you right now, my Facebook page in the last 2 weeks is nothing but underwear ads. That's all that's on my Facebook now is draws and ads. That's it. Because everyone has posted something.
You're definitely blocking me because I've been very vocal on Facebook. But I wanted you to watch that video to get your take on it. I don't know if you did you see the video that it was like Gal Gadot. You know who that is?
No, I saw it. I saw it. I passed by it. The reason why, Jake, is that I'm inundated with this. I'm also being inundated with a whole lot of white people reaching out to me to see how I feel. Yeah. Fuck you! If you don't know what's going on in the black community right now, you need to do the same thing you did when you got your MDA. Go out and study your fucking ass off and learn for yourself. Don't come to your black people and expect that we got the fucking Bible to teach you how not to be a racist or to teach you how to accept racists or to teach you how to support people that are trying to squash racism. Don't come to the black people. We're not certified for this shit. You did this shit to these motherfuckers. And then you broke the system, and now you want to come to the people you broke for the fix.
Hey, this is Jake from the future. Just wanted to clarify the video that we are talking about is the I Take Responsibility video that a bunch of different celebrities made, and it is cringy. Anyway, back to the show.
I'm sorry. This is what happens when you make me watch that Dave Chappelle thing.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec.
I just want
to touch on this real quick because I watched that and I just cringed, man. It was just these actors acting like they care. That's how I felt.
The first thing that comes to mind watching that, and I literally just watched it a minute and a half ago, and the Emmy goes to. That didn't seem genuine. That didn't seem real. That felt like the same commercial that me and my guys on Fat Guy Radio Show years ago taped for the Sandy Hook relief when the kids were shot up in Sandy Hook at that mass shooting. We did a video that was exactly like that, with the sappy music and all this other stuff. All of those people. I'll tell you this. Everyone that I just saw in this I Take Responsibility Celebs Pledge Act, okay, if they all took 20% of their bank account right now and supported some actual change, that would probably be a whole lot more effective than a video that was posted on June 11th that has only garnered 58,000 views. So clearly it's not reaching anybody.
Yeah, I think that's a re-upload. But to be fair,
yeah. So, it's re-uploaded, to On Demand Entertainment's YouTube page, which has 365,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Yet this video has only garnered 58,000 views in 24 hours.
I saw that video and I was like, this reminds me so much of that Gal Gadot Imagine thing when COVID started, and it was just like these actors pretending like they give a shit while they're sitting in their mansions, like,
of course,
talking about how much they care. It's like, ugh. It makes me think of that Ricky Gervais speech that he did at the Golden Globes last year.
Mm-hmm.
He did his monologue, and he ended his monologue by saying, "It's interesting how woke you people can be, yet take a paycheck from Apple, who also builds everything in sweatshop labor camps over in China. So it's interesting how woke you can be, but you'll take a paycheck from the mafia any day of the week."
And Jake, we're not alone. We're not alone in these feelings. Let's go to the comments, shall we?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay. Here we are. D-Town commented, "These people are what's wrong with America." Okay. Let's see. What the Flip posted his comment. "This is embarrassing. You're actors. Learn to act like a normal human being." Cororian, Corian, says, "If ISIS had a streaming service, you'd be calling your agents." And that's a quote from Ricky Gervais. Truer words have never been spoken. This is probably the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. Slapstick Action comments, "These are white celebrities literally acting like they care. It looks so scripted and rehearsed, like they're trying out for a role in a movie."
You can see them reading the script. Like, it's
literally on their cell phones. And Jake, there are 2,971 comments, and I'm just scrolling through them now, and I have yet to come across a positive one.
What's the like to dislike ratio? Do you have that there?
The like to dislike ratio, okay, thumbs up, right? On the tube of you.
Yeah.
Thumbs up or likes. Okay, right? Is that how it goes? Okay. 281 likes. Thumbs down are dislikes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 7.9 thousand dislikes.
Yeah, it just came off as incredibly tone deaf. Like, what are you guys doing? Like,
it missed the mark.
Yeah.
And like we're going to talk about in a little bit, the streets are going to speak for themselves. I'm taking a quote from Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
Celebrities.
I think this is a good way to pivot to that.
Yeah. Hey, celebrities, this is your boy Cory Blaze. Hello. Yes, I'm a Z-list celebrity in my own right.
Yeah.
They don't need my voice right now.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need me preaching on my radio show. They don't need me preaching on the Jake and Cory podcast. They don't need celebrities doing this right now. They go handle it. You know, it's not genuine. It wasn't genuine at all.
Let me say this, because I do think it's all right if you want to make a statement and say something. I think it's okay. I think that's perfectly fine. If you want to bring someone on and, you know, that has had a horrible experience and they want to talk about that experience so more people can hear it, I think that's great. You know, spread the word. That's great. But at the same time, these people, I made this example the other day because you said earlier that if these millionaires and billionaires spent their money, everything would be changed.
Right.
And the only way they spend their money is always for charities. And you know what the charities actually are? They're not for charities, because if they actually cared, they would actually make their own things and actually do it. But they do it to charities because that's not for the charities. That is their budget for their PR. That is their marketing budget for their own selves. It's not coming out of their
pocket. Think of it this way.
This video is just them trying to get public recognition and trying to get the public behind them, and it's just fucked up. No one gives a shit what you have to say. You know?
It almost seems like it's them punching their time card into the Black Lives Matter movement. hey, look, I did this video. I was out. I supported you guys through this video that I taped on my $1,100 iPhone X
Yeah.
in my $1.5 million house. And yes, I'm an actor, but I support this movement, even though I know in my heart of hearts that I have been selected 9 times out of 10 over a black actor for roles that have made me really rich and very famous. I'll say this too. There are some people that I'm very afraid of. One of them is Oprah. Very afraid of Oprah.
Yeah.
But Oprah's a black billionaire. And she's got lots of black billionaire friends. Where they money at?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
True,
you can do every TV show you want to do. You can do every video you want to do. I go back to the Prince effect. The Prince effect. You do stuff that means something to you and you don't have a camera and an audience for. That's more genuine than you releasing a YouTube video or doing an NBC special. That's way more powerful. And Prince showed that. It wasn't until his death that we realized how much an effect he had on the city and the town that he lived in. And all these celebrities that we just saw in this video, this I Take Responsibility video, I bet you if we go to every last one of their Instagrams or their Twitter accounts or their Facebook pages and we scroll down in their histories, I bet you we'll find some pictures of them posing up against some politicians. If those are your buddies, don't post this video, send it to those politician buddies. Send it to those lawmakers.
Yeah.
And then don't expect an audience when you do it. Just send it. Don't make it a big expose with the sappy music and shit. Go to your friends that you were sucking up with that showed up to your movie premiere that also work in Washington, D.C. to get them to do something. And when they do something, don't let your name be tied to it. Use that influence. It's the Prince effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? You're absolutely correct, because there's a way to do it. If you want to actually make change, there's a way to do it, and that video is not it. A good example is
it missed the mark. It missed the mark.
A good example of the way to do it is when Jon Stewart went and talked before Congress about the 9/11 victims not getting the proper care that they deserved.
Right. And he did not go on his show because he was on the air at that time, was he not?
I think so, or just freshly off. I can't remember.
Yeah, he didn't go on the air and say, "Join with me, I'm going to go talk to Congress." He didn't do all that. He didn't have all of these people on this show to talk about what he's going to. He just went up, he went and showed up. He pulled his connections and he went and he did it. The only reason why it was televised is because everything Congress does is televised.
Right. And like another good example is Ashton Kutcher actually is very passionate about sex trafficking, and he actually started his own organization to like help fight sex trafficking, and is like actually funding it and actually like works with it within it. Like that's what you should be doing. I was saying this yesterday to my sister actually. I'm very passionate about developmentally delayed. It's what I do for a living, is I take care of people who are developmentally delayed. And I was saying, like, if I had the billions of dollars that Jeff Bezos had, or what's his butt at Microsoft has, Bill Gates. If I had that money, I wouldn't be donating my money to charity. I would actually go out and buy group homes.
Yeah.
And actually create a better environment, because the government's not doing it. So I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like if I had the money, I'd do it. You know what I mean?
And an example of that I literally just learned about earlier today was Google. Did you know that Google's complex in California has a almost 30,000 square foot complex that has recently been converted into a homeless shelter?
Oh, really?
Where they cook food, they take in families, they have showers and clothes for them to pick, and then they, of course, have for people that have been laid off. And there was a story that I came across online of a lady and her two sons that she got laid off not once but twice since the pandemic started, and she's living in this 30,000 square foot area that's off in a corner on the Google complex. I never knew that about Google. I never knew that they had a homeless shelter, but it's there. And when she reached out to get assistance and help, someone said, "Here, I've got a connection for you. Call these people." And she herself was shocked to learn that it was Google owned. It's literally a part of their complex that they just said, you know what? And they just did it in the midst of this pandemic.
This is more important than
us going out
room.
there, and you don't hear nothing about. They don't even have anything about it on Google News. I even tried to Google, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
That's an example of how you give out that's proof that you are truly passionate about what you're doing, and you don't require an audience or a YouTube video or an NBC special or a TV special on your own network.
Yeah, that's true. And not to discredit the fact that awareness is important, and spreading awareness, it is important, but that's not what that video is.
No, that definitely wasn't it. And there's a lot of misses out there.
You think a racist person is going to watch that video and be like, yeah, you're right, I am racist? Like, like, that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
President Snow just helped me realize that I'm taking responsibility. President Snow, who made millions of dollars off of a movie franchise that was all about the oppression of people of what used to be America, which is now known as Pan Am. I'm telling you, folks, I've been preaching it for years. Get ready. Here comes Pan Am.
Well, this is a good way to pivot to Chappelle, and then we'll get to our the main focus of this
Chappelle
show.
Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show. That was my horrible harmonica.
I loved it.
My horrible harmonica. Yeah, let's get to this train wreck.
Oh, you think it's a train wreck?
Go ahead, Jake. How did you feel about and we are talking about the Chappelle YouTube post titled 8 minutes and 46 seconds, or actually properly titled 8:46. Dave Chappelle.
I think, and it's supposed to be like a comedy special, but I don't think it was funny at all.
Was it a snippet from what he did? That whole show, he didn't just do all that just to do that, did he?
I actually think he did it not to talk about that, and then ended up just talking about it. I honestly feel like that is probably what happened. Because if you notice,
I'm interested to hear your take.
If you notice, he walks up there with like a notebook, but he doesn't really open it. I'm pretty sure he was just like going to try out some jokes and was like, you know what, I got to just talk about this.
But the whole lead up to this thing, them showing the people showing up and checking in and all this other stuff. I mean, they went through a lot for him to just get up there and talk for what, 20, the clip was 27 minutes. Chappelle's never done a 30-minute set. I
think he has. I think at comedy clubs, that's how you do it, is you do 30-minute sets. I'm
going to lean on my video editing knowledge. Yeah. There was a lot of editing in this.
Yeah.
It was a lot of sliced together. Mm-hmm. The production level was definitely edited. That's what made me think that it was sliced out of a show that he was doing.
Yeah, he probably talked a lot longer, but like it said, he hadn't done a show for like about 90 days. He's probably a little out of practice. He just had a bunch of comedy specials. He's probably just working on material right now, so you don't want to throw that out there. But I'm sure what he said was just a lot of the off the cuff. I mean, like, and he probably pre-planned a lot of it, but I think what he said was great for the most part. And I don't think and trust me, the irony is not lost on me, and I'm sure it's not lost on him either, that he says, it's not celebrities' time to talk, yet here he is. But I think what he had to say was very poignant and very profound. He mentioned that cop who ended up killing other cops, and his name is escaping me right now.
Yeah, I can't Donald something.
Yeah, but
something like that.
It's a great point that, like, we never talked about the full scope of that whole thing.
Well, the way that he parlayed it into that was him trying to explain to people why the African American community is reacting the way that they are. Because when those cops finally cornered one of their, when the cops finally caught the guy in a cabin, they were going after, there was 400 cops that went to that location. And the reason why there were 400 cops is because they were there in unity to defend or reprimand the life of one of their own.
Mm-hmm.
So he used that story to explain to people that don't understand why there are blacks in the streets, because you've taken out one of our own. Well, not just one, but hundreds of them. You've taken out one of our own. So like when you send 400 cops in the black community, we're sending 400 blacks to defend or to seek justice for the one black you took, just like you did when that one cop shot one other cop.
Well, and I think there's more to it than just that, but yes, it was a great analogy of what's going on.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I took from it.
But there's also more to that story. He wrote a whole manifesto, that guy, and I can't remember his name.
He blew it up.
About how basically he turned in his partner for kicking a mentally ill person in the face.
That was handcuffed. Mentally ill, handcuffed person in the face. And he ended up getting fired. And he tried to appeal it. And he said that everyone called him the N-word while he worked there. He said that that other cops told him all he was an N-word, and there's more to that story that the media didn't cover, like any of that. The only way you can really find that out is if you actively searched out his manifesto. And I'm not trying to say what he did was right, because absolutely it was not. But also the way the cops handled it was not correct either, right? I mean, well, yeah, they turned the man into Swiss cheese.
Well, they literally set the place on fire.
Yeah, it was like a remake of Waco.
Yeah, it's insane. And I think the other things Dave Chappelle was saying, they were great. The stuff he was saying about Candace Owens, although a little harsh. It's like, yeah, how do you do that? How do you she's just making money off of being a provocateur, basically.
Dude, we've said on this show that we know that there are people out there that are going to profit from this. Here in America, folks, nothing is done that's not going to result in some type of profit. We said it all the way going back to when we were putting little Mexican kids in internment camps.
Mm-hmm.
We were separating them from their parents on the borders of the U.S. with Mexico. Somebody was making money from that. Even in the midst of this pandemic with millions of people out of work, there are people that are making money from this. There are people that are benefiting from the pain of millions and millions of people. We've said that on this show.
Yeah.
There are people that are going to benefit from the pain of COVID-19. It's going to happen. It's happening.
And although the ending of that was intense, when he said basically, this is our last chance for civil discourse. Otherwise, it ends. I think his exact words were rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat.
Yeah, and then he dropped the mic. Now
that might be extreme, but also,
but that's Dave Chappelle.
Yeah,
that's what he does. His
Mm-hmm.
last Netflix special was way off of it, and he doesn't leave out. Now, number one, I will say this before I get into my thoughts on it. I love Dave Chappelle. I've loved his comedy.
Same.
I've loved his show.
I think he's the best.
I love his delivery. He has the most unique stage delivery of any comedian in the world. And he's got. I wish we had his nudes, because if we did, I'm sure that we would see the two biggest, brownest sack of balls hanging between that dude's legs, because he walked away from Hollywood, gave them the biggest middle finger, and said, I'm going to go smoke pot in an African bush as a little skinny, scrawny, big dick black dude. But when I return, I'm coming back as a burnt up The Rock, and you motherfuckers are going to pay me for what I'm worth, because that's literally what he did.
Yeah, he's huge.
Dude he's ripped from Genesis to Revelations.
That's hilarious.
And he's amazing. I love Dave Chappelle. I revere the fact that he made the decision that he made to walk away from the Dave Chappelle show, and he did it, and he came back with a vengeance. And he didn't come back sneaking in the back door. That motherfucker came through the front door, kicked it in, and said, bitch, I'm back. And you're going to love me. So, I love Dave Chappelle. But the 8 minutes and 46-second video, for the context of it, was well put. The way that he presented it was well put. Very poignant. Dude was drunk the whole time, Jake.
He always is, though.
That took it away from me a little bit.
Really?
He
Why?
was lit like a motherfucker through that whole thing.
I mean, I think he always is.
I've never seen him to that point. Now, I don't know if it was the editing. Maybe we'll classify it a little bit as editing. But dude was lit like a mug on that stage.
He's also always stoned, too.
Okay, so I will say this. I don't know if it was alcohol. I don't know if it was pot. I don't know what it was. But that's not the normal Dave Chappelle that we see. That was definitely a medicated Dave Chappelle in some way, shape, or form. His actions, his mannerisms, the way that and maybe it was just the intimacy of the event, because it was a different environment than what I've seen him do before. But that was almost enough of a distraction from the point of his video for me. I kept looking at the fact that he took a deep drag, off of an unlit cigarette. He took a pack of cigarettes out of his pocket. He took a cigarette out of the pack. He had a lighter in his hand. He put the cigarette in his mouth. He went on doing some jokes. Then he stopped, took the microphone away from his mouth, and pulled the biggest pull off of an unlit cigarette. Then it was cut, and the cigarette was magically lit.
That's your takeaway, though?
That took me out of his message a little bit. That distracted me a little bit from his message. I understand that he was doing this in the post-COVID apocalypse. And
Also in his hometown. I'm sure everyone there was like his neighbors and stuff like that.
He didn't have a camera crew or anything. It looked like it was some some static cameras and stuff like that. But his mannerisms were distracting from his message a little bit for me. I got his message, but I was still distracted by his obvious excel level of inebriation.
Yeah, I don't know. For me,
His message was there, though.
Dave
I got his message.
He always seems like high and drunk.
No, that was a little more extreme than normal. Maybe
Especially that second one on Netflix. I forget which one it was, but there's one on Netflix where he's definitely just drunk. He's sitting on a stool the whole time, like dude can't even stand up. I mean,
that was another thing too. What was I don't. He looks wore down. He looks beat down.
well,
I just went to the video and I just pulled it up again, and it just what was the book? At one, he did open up the book he had.
Yeah.
At one point, he did open up the book. He was holding it in his hand. At one point, he appeared to be reading from it, and then he got excited at one point, dropped the book, never picked it back up. Before he dropped the book, I guess he lost his place in the book because he fiddled with the pages for a little bit, like someone that was inebriated, trying to figure out where the hell they were. Now, Dave Chappelle, part of his magic is the fact that he can fly off the script, and he's the funniest when he goes off of the script.
Yeah,
you know, he is a master at doing that, and he's a master at bringing it full circle. Maybe it was due to the editing of this clip, but that magic was not there. If
you read the description of that video, and probably
he apologizes.
Well, he says, like, normally I wouldn't post something like this. I think
so
that's
unrefined.
Yeah, I think that's just his process. He goes up with some jokes in a book and he just kind of spitballs, because that's how you work out your comedy as a stand-up comedian. There were some funny moments. Yeah.
There were some funny moments, especially when he was attacking that stank cooch lady.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know if a cooch stank,
but I'll let you know.
But if I find out, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
So there were some Dave Chappelle moments. It seemed like it was very intimate. It seemed like it may have just been done in his backyard. I don't know. I applaud him for releasing it. And I will say, even though we pointed it out for the other I Am Responsible video, the Dave Chappelle video was posted the same day that the I Am Responsible video was posted. And Dave Chappelle's video has garnered 7.5 million views.
What's the like to dislike ratio, does it say?
I love it when you go to the like or dislike ratio. Like is thumbs up, dislike is thumbs down, for those of you keeping track at home. The likes, 372,000.
Okay.
The dislikes, 13,000.
Yeah, that's
so he got his point across, but for me, I was distracted.
Well, that's fair.
By the unrefinedness of his but I got his message, but it was a little distracting. But I laughed at it. I watched the whole damn thing, and I will watch it again in a minute, because I loved how eloquently, in his Dave Chappelle way, he parlayed. Basically what he did is he parlayed what a Black America is feeling to past events.
Right.
And he proved that. And the rat-a-tat-tat-tat at the end, yeah, I understand. The rat-a-tat-tat-tat is the same thing that the Ku Klux Klan threatened that Black America neighborhood back in the I want to say back in the 60s or the 70s, where they literally got farm planes and dropped homemade bombs on a predominantly Black neighborhood, and literally brought a predominantly Black neighborhood that was filled of Oprahs and Tyler Perrys. They were rich Black people.
That was in the 80s.
In the 80s, same thing when that happened, and they did.
Or maybe we're thinking of different things, but I know there was a thing. I think
my knowledge base isn't deep enough, so I'm paraphrasing here. But the story was that
doesn't matter.
They basically napalmed a Black affluential area.
Yeah. Well, the thing I'm thinking of is
someone may or may not be doing a rally in an area that was also leveled by a supremacist white group, and someone may be scheduling to do a rally in that same part part of the world in the coming months.
Yeah, it very well could happen. The thing I was thinking of is I think it was the 80s, it was against a group who was rather violent, and they were held up in a house, and the police actually, as their solution to take it out, was to bomb the house, and they set the whole neighborhood on fire. It's crazy. That was in like the 80s, dude. And we're talking about how people are arguing that it's better now. Like, that was just the 80s.
This is I'm talking about Black Wall Street is what they call it.
Right.
And there's been a History Channel special about Black Wall Street.
Yeah, I know about Black Wall Street, yeah.
In Tulsa, and that's what I was thinking about in the early 1900s. Is the story that I just Googled it. I was referring to Black Wall Street in Tulsa, and the massacre, which began on May 31st, 1921, and left hundreds of black residents dead and 1,000 houses destroyed in the Greenwood district with a population of 10,000 people at the time.
Yeah, it's just so crazy, man, that people just...
It's absolutely crazy, but
people don't understand what's going on right now. Like,
but the way that the way that Black Wall Street was taken out, is what Dave Chappelle's Rat-a-tat-tat is signaling, that the way the white supremacists took out Black Wall Street may very well parlay into the way that today's blacks are going to retaliate. I saw a very, very poignant video on social media of this heavyset black woman basically saying, we're looking for equality. You're lucky we're not looking for retaliation.
Yeah.
I thought that rattled through my bones.
It's very,
that literally rattled through my bones. But that's what Dave Chappelle said at the end of that set. He was basically saying, you better be happy we not retaliating.
Yeah.
Because if we do retaliate, you're going to need old Orange Face to call in his buddies.
And it was also kind of like, this shit needs to change now, or there is going to be retaliation.
And the funny thing is that ever since they dug up those two little kids on that dude's side yard, a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement has kind of swaned away from the news media. You're not seeing a lot of it anymore.
Yeah.
Ever since George Floyd was laid to rest, the protesting went from a couple of thousand to a couple of hundred. And this is what happens. And this is what the people that want to continue to oppress Black America, they're just sitting back waiting for the momentum to shift or to dissipate.
Yep.
And you know what? They're starting to get it because media ain't talking about it. Now media is talking about the fact that they found these two little adorable kids' bones buried in the shallow grave.
And I was thinking about that, and you're right. I do think, it's starting to happen, and I think it's inevitable that that's going to happen. But at the same time, I think there's no way in hell that this doesn't all just start coming back up and bubbling up as soon as that trial starts happening for those police officers.
You
know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah, I do. And in here in the studio,
if you thought OJ's trial was huge, this is going to be huge.
I have written, I don't have it within arm's reach right now, but I've written down a prediction of how these trials are going to end. And the guys on Fat Guy Radio Show are going to be so pissed off that I'm talking about it on the Jake and Cory Show, because I didn't get a chance to get to it on Fat Guy Radio Show. But I've written down a prediction on how those 4 officers in Minneapolis, how that's all going to end. And I will say that one of my predictions have already come true.
What's that?
that his bond was set at $1 million, that he was going to bond out.
Yeah.
And he did. Now, I'm not going to show my hand, but I wrote down my prediction. I put it in a sealed envelope, and it's here in the studio, and I'm not going to open it until this whole thing plays out.
Well, I'll say my prediction. Well, I've got my hopes, and I've got my predictions.
What do you truly feel is going to happen with these 4 officers?
So I'll start with what I hope. I mean, I hope they all just serve life in prison. Because fuck them. For one, I mean, what they did was fucking horrible. And they've completely started an uprising. Like, they need to have life in prison, obviously. But what I think is going to happen, and dude, people are going to be outraged if this does happen, but I do see it happening, is they're going to get like 2 years in prison or 4 years in prison or something.
Now, are you speaking to the 3 associate cops, or are you speaking to all 4 of them? Because I think that the charges are different for the one that actually had his knee on George Floyd.
I bet that guy will get some time. I bet that guy will get some time, and the other cops will get time. And what'll happen is they will get time when they go to trial in 2 years or whatever, and they'll just be like, we'll just count that as time served. You're free to go.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Okay. That's kind of what I feel will happen, and I hate it.
I have my prediction written down on paper on truly how I feel, and I time and date stamped it. I recorded a little video, and when this all plays out, 2 years, however long, I'm going to open up that envelope, and I'm going to share that video. And hopefully we'll still be doing the Jake and Cory podcast then, and I'll be more than happy to share it here. I'm definitely going to share it on Fat Guy Radio Show. And I'm going to post it up on YouTube without the sappy music and the black and white filter. And I won't be drunk, and I'll know how to light my cigarette.
Yeah, isn't that the thing about that video? It's like you had to add the music and the...
Yeah, they missed
me with them like, oh, I'm just...
I didn't want to watch it. You made me watch it. I didn't want to watch it.
I'm sorry. I like
All right, so we got 20 minutes left in the show.
Yeah, let's pivot.
Music. Jake and I have a love for music. We both love music. We're both musicians. Something that we learned about each other one night when it was pillow talk. Yeah. And no, I'm kidding. There was
after a night of passionate sex.
Passionate, sweaty, bacon-smelling sex.
Yes. I don't know why it smelled like bacon, but...
anytime sex with me, it smells like bacon.
A couple cops there.
So, yeah, it's some prosciutto. So so music is one thing that we love. Now, I will say this, Jake. You and I share a love for music, but I think that our music genres differ a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you've introduced me to what you call the playlist at one point.
Yeah.
And there were some on there that I could get with, and there were some that were on there that I wanted to get away from because they were a little scary, but nevertheless, we agree on one genre of music that we both don't care for.
What's that?
Hip hop.
I love hip hop.
Newer hip hop.
I love newer hip hop.
I don't. I'm out. Okay, so I lied. So I don't have. I can't stand old school hip hop. Will Smith hip hop. Yeah, I'm all good with that.
Will Smith hip hop.
Yeah,
Will Smith. That's your old school hip hop.
Old school hip hop. But I will say that there are some newer hip hop artists that I can get down with.
Okay.
There is one that I forget his name. But there is one hip hop artist that I actually follow on Instagram because I love he tells a story. I can get down with the hip hop that tells a story. I can't get down with the hip hop that is all about punch your hoes and slap your bitches.
Sure.
And
yeah.
And if you are a hip hop artist and on your Instagram page at any time you have a picture of you with fanned out money, I'm out.
Sure. So like trap music and stuff like that. Lil Wayne.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
one of my favorite albums of like the past 10 years is an album by Kendrick Lamar called To Pimp a Butterfly. I think it is one of the most perfect albums ever made. The music is incredible. And actually a lot of the songs are very timely for what's going on right now. And the album actually ends with him doing an interview with Tupac, and the interview is so perfect for what's going on right now. I mean, it's not perfect. It's like, it's heartbreaking that obviously Tupac had this conversation in the 90s and it still is just the same today.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the memes of the old lady standing at the back of her car holding a sign that says, I protested this shit 50 years ago.
Yeah, my arms hurt. I'm sick of holding this sign.
my arms hurt.
Yeah.
And the artist that I was referring to that is a more modern day hip hop artist is Hopsin. Have you heard of Hopsin?
Hopsin's all right.
Hopsin.
Yeah.
I love his storytelling.
Hopsin's all right.
I get Hopsin. He has a song, a track that he speaks about him and church and religion, that he goes a little far in some of the verses, but for the most part, 95% of that dude is reading my life story. I can get down with Hopsin. Hopsin is a hip hop artist that I do own music for. And I also own music for, what is his name? Jesus. I don't know.
I've got a controversial one for you, Cory.
Okay, what's the controversial one while I look up?
Yeah, well, you're finding whatever.
Chance the Rapper.
Dude, I love Chance. I love
Chance the Rapper. I love the way he talks. He's pretty and he's got a big old huge bobblehead.
Chance is great. Tyler the Creator is great. But here's my controversial one.
I'm out on Tyler the Creator.
Really?
Yeah, I'm out. He's too skinny. He's too weird. Lil Nas X is, a better version of Tyler the Creator.
Lil Nas X is great.
Lil Nas X is fine as hell too.
Oh my God! It's not about that, Cory.
I want a drink of that chocolate milkshake.
It's not about that. But here's my controversial one for you.
Okay.
Also, Tyler the Creator, he had an album like 2 years ago. Fantastic. You should listen to it. Anyway, the controversial one is I'm actually a huge fan of Kanye West. I think he actually is one of the most important figures as far as production goes for hip hop to happen. I don't want to say ever, but he's definitely up there as one of the most influential hip hop artists of all time. His album Graduation is still, to this day, that album came out in 2007. I don't want to be wrong, but and it still holds up to this day. Still some of the best production I've heard on an album. It's just good shit, man. If we're talking hip hop,
Well, I'm out on Kanye West. And not only because I just don't connect to his music, but I think that Kanye West is better at riding the wave of popularity and current events than he is with his music. And I know a lot of people hate that when I say that. So yeah, my view of Kanye West is a little bit more controversial.
But you gotta give him credit for doing that as well, for being able to stay relevant.
Old Kanye West, prior to him getting Kardashian, I had a little respect for him.
Yeah.
After the Kardashian, I'm out.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying too. Like Yeezus and Graduation, like those are great albums. Even his newer albums aren't that great.
And then just recently, he there was some buzz that the whole thing of him going to the White House was a whole social media ploy. Him wearing the MAGA hat and sitting with President Trump was just a ploy to draw more attention to Kim Kardashian's foundation.
Well, but let me say this. him and Kim going to the White House actually ended up getting a bill passed. So he's doing exactly what we were saying celebrities should do.
So he played America, and he's not doing what we said celebrities should do. You want to know why, Jake? Because he invited the audience there. He invited the cameras. He made a big deal about him doing this. So he did it. It was more in a self-gratifying tone than it was in an actual assisting or bringing awareness tone.
Sure. And I do think that's just part of Kanye's thing is, any way he can.
And it's gotten worse since he's been dipping a Kardashian. Because that's what the whole
but
Kardashian
you got to give him
clan.
credit for actually getting a bill passed that is potentially going to get a lot of innocent people out of prison. That's the whole.
And it would have been better suited if he didn't do it with a sappy track under it in black and white, because that's literally the equivalent of what he did. Is the same thing as what that video.
But at the same time, I also said earlier it's important to bring awareness too, right? So I think a lot of people look at Kanye that are not aligned with us politically or our beliefs, and they look at Kanye and they say, hey, look at this guy. He loves Trump. What does he have to say? And maybe they'll listen to what he has to say.
He
you
got
hear what
the
I'm saying,
bill.
though?
I do hear what you're saying, and the bill that passed is going to do some good.
Yeah.
The way he got there, the way he got the bill to the forefront of the minds of the powers was through deceit and trickery. But he basically played them at their own game at the end of the day. Or according to recent reports, that was a whole ploy just to get the bill passed. Now, the bill is going to be beneficial. I'm not taking that from him. But the way that he manipulated the system, I believe, is indicative of the way the Kardashians have manipulated their entire career, if you want to classify it as that.
Yeah.
And Kanye West of old wasn't that type of guy.
Well, we don't know.
He worked his way up in the game. He did what he had to do. He paid his dues.
Yeah.
And now he's just leveling up through a game of manipulation and deceit.
Well, and
I don't think that's right.
Some of that had to do with him just trying to get on Trump's level, because Trump is a narcissist, and what Kanye was doing was really just sucking Trump's dick. And
yeah, he played him.
Yeah, he played him, and
he played their game, and he won.
Yeah,
and it's going to win for everybody else. But that doesn't neglect the fact that he had to lower himself to their standards. Him and Kim could have used more of their influence and more of their reach and power to get that bill passed, other than going in. And I'm saying this is all alleged because none of this has been confirmed. Instead of going in, lowering himself and kissing the magic ring to get what he wanted.
But
that loses a little bit of the sting.
I hear what you're
for me.
saying. And I'm not trying to defend Kanye, because I think Kanye.
No, I hear what you're saying too. You're making a very valid point.
But like, at the same time, the dude kind of killed his credibility. I mean, you're even over here saying, I hate that he did this. I don't like him. And I think most people that were fans of him are kind of like, I don't know about Kanye anymore. I feel like maybe he kind of took a hit, so then he could do some good.
He took a hit. I think he took a hit when he started hitting that Kardashian snatch. That's honestly where I think that he lost.
Can you blame him?
He lost. Yeah, I can, because the Kardashian snatch then killed NBA players. It then killed other rappers. It then took out R&B singers.
Not to mention,
I mean,
controversial statement here. Caitlyn Jenner killed some people.
Yeah. You know what I
literally.
mean? The Kardashian curse is so bad it changed someone's gender.
Yeah.
That's how bad the Kardashian curse is. So he definitely lost a lot of street cred, if that's even a thing, you know. But off of the hip hop thing, Jake.
Yeah.
Top 3 artists of all times in your book. Top 3 artists of all time.
Ooh, it's hard. That's a hard one for me, man.
Come on, you got to do it. Gun to your head. If you don't, we're gonna drop bombs over on your house through prop planes. Too soon?
I would say Jeff Buckley is up there.
Okay. I have no idea who Jeff Buckley is. What type of music is Jeff Buckley?
Jeff Buckley is sort of R&B rock, sort of weird 90s. He's a weird one.
Okay.
You know that song Hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
So that song was originally by Leonard Cohen, but it didn't become popular until Jeff Buckley covered it in the 90s. So that's Jeff Buckley.
The one that says, when David played and it pleased the Lord.
Yeah.
But you don't even care about them, do ya? The fourth, the fifth, the major snip,
here's one,
the minor chord, and never live, and the friend just says it, hallelujah.
You know the lyrics so well.
I know. I wrote them. For Jeff Buckley back in the 1600s.
1600s. Here's one that we can both align on. One of my favorite artists of all time. And I don't know if he's top 3 or because I don't know. It's hard to pick a top 3, but one that we can both relate on for sure is Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
I love Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder definitely in my top 10. The Keys of Life, top album, all day.
Yeah.
All day.
And a lot of his songs are very still poignant today as well.
A lot of them are now into these new Black empowerment playlists that Spotify and iTunes and everybody is putting out right now. A lot of that, the one that's leading that's really rose in the iTunes playlist and iTunes downloads with all of the Black Lives Matter movement going on is "Living for the City." Mm-hmm. That song has rocketed for him. Yeah.
But
I may or may not have used it for an opening of my show.
Yeah, his lyrics are fantastic, and also the dude's musicianship and the musicians he surrounded himself with are
ridiculous.
Some of the best. He had a guitar player named Michael Sambello, such a great guitar player, and Stevie Wonder. You may not know this. A lot of the bass lines he wrote himself on the keyboard, and there's some of the just sickest bass lines as a bass player.
Ridiculous.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I love Stevie Wonder, man. I could listen to him all day long. He has that song. It's an instrumental song, and I get in my car and that comes on, and I jam out, dude, because that song just goes way too hard. I love it.
There's so many of them. I know. I have a very good friend of mine who's a bass player, Just James.
Yeah.
Phenomenal basses like yourself, Jake.
Oh, thank you.
And
I'm not as good as Just James, but
no, you're not. But I just want to lump you in there because
you.
I'm trying to love on you. But
thank you.
Just James, when he wants to challenge himself and stretch himself musically, he goes for a Stevie Wonder song.
Yeah.
And he and just can play anything. But when it comes to a Stevie Wonder bass line, that's a big challenge for him because they are so unique. None other music, no funk music, no music back in the day, nothing can come close to a Stevie Wonder bass line, a Stevie Wonder bass riff. You can't dupe. You have to be phenomenally gifted to nail a Stevie Wonder. And then there are so many nuances and tricks and slaps that you have to have a keen ear to be able to decipher when it comes to Stevie Wonder's music.
One of the first like hard songs I learned on bass when I was first starting out was Isn't She Lovely? And that song just has a really, and then Sir Duke, bow, 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 it has such a cool bass line. Yeah.
That was a horn section. But the bass was going along with it.
Well, the bass had do 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 do. Yeah, it was an awesome bass line. Not to mention, you brought up funk, and I think this is what's great about Stevie Wonder. And the artists I love the most are the artists who don't really align with a certain genre. The artists who kind of genre bend, and I think Stevie Wonder kind of falls into that because
100%.
Stevie
100%.
Wonder he had funk elements for sure. He had R&B elements for sure, but he also had rock influences. Sometimes his like snarly voice could go into like some just like really heavy like gospel stuff. Like he's just,
you can put him in the same category as the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you have an artist that genre bends, I love that phrase that you used. When you can have rock artists, R&B artists, heavy metal artists, country artists redo your stuff and it fits into their genre and in their way, which is something that is synonymous with the Beatles. The Beatles got some of Michael Jackson's biggest hits have got Beatles influence if they're not a Beatles song.
Yeah.
Come Together is one of those songs.
I love the Beatles.
That just works. So Stevie Wonder wrote and produced and released music that enables any other artist to go in. You can have anyone from Beyonce to Reba McEntire sing a Stevie Wonder song and it works and it sells because of the genius behind Stevie Wonder. That's how genre bending he was. Not only because he did it himself, but the whole any spectrum of artists from bluegrass to Louisiana P-Funk bands can come in and cover a Stevie Wonder song and it works.
So you asked for 3.
I asked for 3, but go ahead, give me 5.
So I'm just gonna real quickly. As a young lad, I was really into grunge music. I think Nirvana is one of the best bands ever. Alice in Chains.
You own every last one of their T-shirts.
Yeah, Alice in Chains. Yeah, all those groups. I love all. Soundgarden. I love all that stuff. And you mentioned the Beatles earlier, and I still to this day, I think the Beatles are the most important band to ever exist. I
agree.
I stand by that statement. I think pop music as we know it would not be pop music without the Beatles. I love them. They have so many great songs. You know, we can talk about how John Lennon was a questionable character. You know,
I was the 5th Beatle.
Yeah, we could talk about how he's questionable, about how he potentially abused his children and wife. But that's whatever.
Yeah. We didn't buy his music to support his alleged abusive lifestyle. Yeah. We bought his music because he was an amazing artist.
Yeah.
And songwriter.
Sometimes,
you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes you got to separate the art from the artist.
Now, give me one of your artists that's in your playlist right now that is really under the radar, that's not mainstream, that would shock people to discover. Who would be someone that you doesn't have to necessarily be in your top 5,
okay,
but just someone that you have in your playlist that is a little bit underground?
Well, one of my favorite groups that I'm listening to right now, I'll spotlight a couple real quick, is a band called Men I Trust.
Okay.
Female vocalists. They have a nice, like, cool, like, 80s vibe, very cool, groovy sort of feel, very cool, nostalgic aesthetic. And then, like, a more metal sort of thing. And it's an all-instrumental band. I'm really into a band called If These Trees Could Talk. Really into their stuff.
Okay.
And then another instrumental band that I'm really into, and they're more math rock, is a band called Covet. Really great stuff. I like instrumental stuff. What can I say?
Okay.
But I want to ask you,
yes,
what are your top 3 artists?
All right. Well, my top 3 are pretty eclectic when it comes to genre. Anyone that knows me that has spent more than 24 hours with me or around me or has listened to more than one episode of Fat Guy Radio Show knows who my number one is. But I'm going to start with number 3. And number 2 and number 3 are not in any particular order. They're just that number 2 and number 3 because no one can take number 1. Number 3 would be Alicia Keys.
Really?
I love Alicia Keys.
She's great.
The connection with the piano. She's a piano player.
Great.
It doesn't help
pianist,
that
too.
she's really easy on the eyes, but she is so. This is not an insult, Jake. Okay, but I'm gonna put this because this is a very high compliment for the way that she presents herself. She is a hairy muff artist to me, meaning that she probably does not groom. That's not an insult. That is just the way that she presents herself. She's got kind of like that India Irie is also like a hairy muff person, but she's got like that India Irie world connected center spirituality, third eye type vibe to her that is just connected to something so supernatural. No one else can really get to that level except Alicia Keys.
I do know what you're
saying.
saying.
When you got somebody that's like that, they don't have time to be going down there and grooming their muff. So I classify, and it's a compliment, Alicia. It's a compliment. Trust me. But Alicia Keys is in my second and third spot. Also in my second or third spot is Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Really?
And the reason why Red Hot Chili
they do a
Peppers
Stevie Wonder song.
They do have a Stevie Wonder song, but Red Hot Chili Peppers was introduced to me when I was a young warthog back in the grade school.
I love the Chili's, dude.
It's not the lead singer that got me. It was Flea.
Oh yeah.
The bassist. I would sit there and watch the music video when MTV used to actually air music videos. I would watch the music video just to see Flea. It's My Aeroplane was on repeat
Great
the
song.
young Cory household. But I still till this day can rock out to a Red Hot Chili Pepper song. Red Hot Chili Peppers, if I hear them play it on the radio and I pull into my garage, I'm sitting in my car until the song goes off. Red Hot Chili Peppers is kind of like if I'm having a down day and I have to come into the studio and I have to do a show and I have to get my energy up and I have to, turn on the valve and get the comedy flowing. Red Hot Chili Peppers get me right there. It just hypes me up. And then even with their slower numbers, some of their ballads, their rock, I think they do a rock ballad than anyone else that I've heard do a rock ballad. Red Hot Chili Peppers is in my second and third spot.
I love them, dude. They're so good, especially their earlier stuff. And
yes.
And Flea gets a lot of attention, but I think it's also worth mentioning John Frusciante, their guitarist, is an incredible guitarist, dude.
Ridiculously incredible.
The guy is great. He holds up with Flea like no one else. Because I also play guitar, and I've tried to learn some guitar songs for Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Is it Dave Navarro? Is that another well-known guitarist?
Yeah, he actually played with the Chili's for a while.
Yeah, Dave Navarro, I also think, is an amazing.
Jane's Addiction, I believe.
Yeah, he's an amazing guitarist as well that I think at one time did some time with Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, he was like their touring guitarist for a bit there.
And my number one.
I think I know what it is.
My all-time number one artist. Jake, who do you think it is? I'll let you register a guess.
Does it start with M and end with J?
It does not start with an M and end with a J.
Oh, I thought it'd be Michael Jackson for sure, dude.
Michael Jackson is up in my top 5. Actually, Michael Jackson is probably 2 or 3 as well. But no, it is not an M and a J. It is not an M and a J.
Well, I don't know.
This artist that's in my number one spot.
Nick West.
she's you know what? She's not number one on this list, but she's number one in my heart.
I love her, dude. She's so great.
I love her too. She's amazing. Huge in Switzerland. This artist, actually, me tweeting about this artist was the first time one of my tweets damn near went viral, because I wrote this artist on Twitter and I said one phrase. I said, if my heart could sing, it would sound like this artist. And me and him, I just released it, it's a guy. Me and him have been good friends ever since online.
Oh yeah? Who is it?
I get tweets back from him. I get DMs from him. It's got
I
nothing
know
to
who
do
it
with
is.
my
I know who
It's got
it
nothing
is.
to do with my radio show. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just because I love the music. Who is it, Jake?
It's Gavin DeGraw, dude.
It's Gavin
yeah, I knew
mother
it.
effing DeGraw.
Yeah, I should have known. I should have known.
And I told you, if you spend 5 minutes with me,
Yeah.
you know this.
Yeah.
Gavin DeGraw is my all-time number one, man. That dude literally has a microscopic camera down my throat, through my esophagus, through my brachial tube, and that camera doesn't see anything else but my soul, and Gavin writes a song from what he sees. Every lyric he's ever uttered, and he is in the studio right now, not because he told me personally, allegedly, but he's in the studio right now working on another project, and I just can't wait. I can't wait. I cannot wait for his new project. As soon as the bans were lifted in the state that he lives in, he immediately went back into the studio, and he's working on a new album right now. But Gavin DeGraw, literally no other artist, not Michael Jackson, not Alicia Keys, has ever connected with me the way Gavin DeGraw's music has. And the way that I came across Gavin, I've always known about him because, you know, he's got that one song, I don't want to be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately. That's the biggest number he's got. That's the biggest. So I've always known of that song, but then a friend of mine named Peter and I took a trip up to Prescott, and the whole road trip up there, I want to say about 9-10 years ago, the whole trip up there, Peter played Gavin DeGraw. And I found myself moved in a way that I have never been moved before listening to music. Not even gospel music. Not even B.J. Putnam music. Gavin DeGraw's music moved me, and I connected with it like it felt as if he wrote every lyric from my life. If you want to know what I've been through, listen to Gavin DeGraw's albums. Every last one of them is Cory all day.
I love his first album. I love it. It's great.
Chariot.
Yeah, I love his first album. Not a huge fan of his other works, but I'm glad you like it.
Oh, come on, man. Make a Move. His album, Make a Move. His album, Sweeter. Oh, my God. Sweeter live. And then you got Chariot, Stripped Down. I got them
Chariot
all,
Stripped
bro.
is so good.
All.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. He is amazing when he's live
There's
because he
artists,
doesn't give you the album cut.
There's certain artists that I think are better live, and I think he's one of those. I think John Mayer as well is another one that's just like way better live.
What Gavin DeGraw does live, and I'm so going to cut this up and send it to him. What Gavin DeGraw does live is that he doesn't give you the album cut performance. He gives you the environment performance. He gives you the vibe that he's feeling in that moment. He connects with the audience in that moment, that's in that arena, that's in that area that he's performing, and then that's the version that he gives you. He'll take one of his biggest numbers and he'll strip it down to where it's just him and the piano, or he'll strip it down to where it's just him and the guitar. That's why his live albums do so well, because he's giving you in that moment. And that's what I love so much about his live performances versus his album cuts. Both of them equally amazing, But the reason why there's such a different feel with his studio productions versus his live productions is his live productions, he's giving you the moment. And in the studio, he's giving you the magic. That's the difference between Gavin.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of artists that can do that, but Gavin does that in expertise, and I don't think I've ever said that about him, and I'm definitely cutting this up, and I'm sending it to him.
I just thought about, because I didn't think about this beforehand. That was a tough question, the top 3 artists, and I think I just thought about who, like, my favorite artist is.
It jogged your memory talking about Gavin.
Yeah, I think my favorite band of all time, well, I mean, I have Foo Fighters tattooed on my chest, so they're up there. But I think my favorite band of all time
That's a great tattoo, by the way.
Thank you. I think my favorite band of all time is, and this may sound shocking coming from me, but I think my favorite band is Paramore.
Really?
I love Paramore. I
am so down with some Paramore, bro.
Dude, I have a Paramore poster hanging in my bedroom. I love them. I know. And the reason I love them, one, Hayley Williams' vocals are incredible. She's a great vocalist.
No one, when you hear her vocals, no one on the planet sounds like her. No one on the planet sounds like it. Is when you hear, you know immediately who that is.
She's incredible.
She would totally fail on The Masked Singer on Fox because we'd immediately know who she was.
It's very distinct, and her lyrics are incredibly biting sometimes, and I love that.
They're gut punching.
Yeah, and I love the music. I love the guitars, and their bassist back in the day was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also really appreciated seeing them grow. They came out in a time where it was, their contemporaries were bands that I don't really care for much, like Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco and like My Chemical Romance. I don't really care for those bands, and as they've progressed, those other bands, they've really turned into these like weird pop, like, and I like pop music, but like they've turned into these like weird, it just sounds fake and like disingenuous.
They adjusted to the time. They adjusted to the market. And and I know we're going long,
that's
but
fine.
Just for context, Paramore was formed in 2004.
Yeah, they've been around a while. And the thing I love about Paramore is not that they've stayed the same, because they certainly have not. I love that they've grown, and you can hear their growth with every album. Every album.
They didn't stay the same, Jake, but they did stay true.
Exactly.
To who they were.
Exactly.
They stayed true. They didn't release albums and they didn't release music. I'm so surprised we're connecting on this. They didn't release albums and music because of where the music market was shifting. They released and they released music that stayed true to what Paramore was. Yes, it had a more contemporary feel at times, but it never swayed from what the root of what makes Paramore
and
great.
It always felt like this is what they genuinely wanted to make. Whereas like with Fall Out Boy, it's like, we're just making this because we need to release a top 10 charter. But Paramore's just so good that they can make whatever they want, and they're always going to have a hit, like, like Hard Times and Only Exception, and
God, I wish we could play music on this show.
I know. I love Paramore so much. Hayley Williams actually just dropped an album this year, solo album, her first solo album, and I love it because she went solo and didn't release like a typical like pop album that you'd expect from a front woman of a band to do. You'd expect her to just like, oh, she's going solo, so she's gonna release like a vehicle to just like, do some crazy pop vocals. No, instead she released a very subdued album that is very much just like deep and darkened and very much more about lyrics than her vocals. It's not her best album, but like it's still very good. And I love Paramore. I love Hayley Williams.
I have yet to hear Hayley's latest release. I haven't heard her individual, but Paramore does definitely make it through Cory's playlist. Before we get out of here, my secret underground artist is a group. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. You probably haven't. But it's a group called Lake Street Drive. And they have this one song that's called Self-Portraits. They are they're kind of almost like a wood panels beach VW bus van driving, no shoe wearing, dirty feet, hairy muff having band.
You
know
love that term today.
I do love that term, hairy muff. They have this song called Self-Portraits, and it's so freaking amazing. They're not huge, they're not big, but they've been around since 2004. But it's kind of like they are a folk rock type band. They're a little folk rock,
like Mumford
maybe a little.
Sons.
Yeah, maybe a little. And there's like 4 of them in the group. 2 ladies, 2 dudes. Not sure if they're banging.
Probably.
But, they have like the southern rock, indie pop, blue-eyed soul, folk rock type feel. And that they're kind of like my undercover underground band, which is Lake Street Drive.
I'll have to check them out.
Check them out. Yes, check out Self-Portraits. That's the song that I have. Man, I wish that, we get in trouble with YouTube. I would love to I would love to play all the music. I think my night is going to end with just music blaring now that you've got me in the mood of music.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do another live stream on Podbean.
We'll have to do something like that because and we can do it. We have the ability to do it a live stream remote as well. But those are my go-to, man. Gavin DeGraw, ultimate number 1. Michael Jackson is up there. I love Michael Jackson's music, but that's pretty typical of, I thought that would have just been kind of hokey to say Michael Jackson, because everybody kind of says Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Whitney Houston is also up there
love
too.
Whitney Houston. Love her.
Whitney Houston can sing the ABCs and I'll cry.
Yeah.
She, you know what? I'll tell you this before we go. Breakups, when you need to get in your emotions, when you need to get a good cry out, Saving All My Love by Whitney Houston and a bottle of champagne in a dark room with a single lit camera, get all them emotions out. All your emotions. You will get every emotion your body is feeling out.
Well, before we go, I have a shocking one. If we're talking breakups, Taylor Swift is great.
All day. She's made a living off of breakup songs.
I love Taylor Swift. I love a good pop banger, and she's full of them. So,
but the emotions, Whitney Houston saved, 'cause I'm saving all my love for you. Yeah, just I'm crying. Damn it.
End the show. He's cried. We gotta end the show. He's cried.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for downloading and listening to another episode of the Jake and Cory podcast. Jake, I think this was a rounded show.
I loved it. I had a lot of fun on it.
Yeah, this was not like the other ones, but I had a lot of fun too. But thank you so much for listening to the Jake and Cory podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube. Hit us up on all popular podcast platforms that are out there right now. Share the show on your social media page as well. Don't forget to check out Jake's one-on-one spotlight interview with Harry Kavanaugh. Who was it?
William Moranci.
Oh, yeah, with Harry Muff. Check out the one-on-one with William Moranci. That's still out there as well on the Lonercast. And also check out the new Gamer podcast.
And let me say something about this. This next week's show, it'll be out on Tuesday or tomorrow for anyone listening to this. The day it comes out. And it's going to be one of the best episodes because just this week, the PS5 was announced. They showed the box. We're going to go into detail. They showed all these games. It was so hype. It was amazing.
It looks like my cable modem.
It looks disgusting. We'll talk more about it on the show. I'm excited to talk about it. So
it looks like a sex toy. So check that out,
disgusting.
ladies and gentlemen.
I hate it, but anyway.
And even if you're not into gaming, watch it for the co-host Nick.
He's sexy.
He is dreamy as hell, and if you don't want to touch him with a hot fireplace poker, I don't know.
I've
what
asked
you're
to
doing
put my
with
finger
your
in his
life.
butt. He doesn't let me.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I've been Cory Blaze. That's Jake Woods there. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Do that every time.